This is Higher Maths, it's paper A, and what we're looking at here is question 2 from the calculator paper. This looks like a polynomial question that we're going to be working on, so let's go ahead and start that. So I have to show that x minus 2 is a factor of a function that I've got here. So let's go ahead and start that one. So the first thing I'm going to think about, and I'm going to be looking at, if x minus 2 is a factor, well then what I know is that x equals 2 is going to be a root. Okay, so and it's that root there that I'm going to use in the synthetic division as I work this one through. So I'll just set up synthetic division here. I'll bring down the coefficients of each of the things at the top here that we've got. So I'll bring down the 2, I've got a minus 3, I've got another minus 3, and then I've got a 2. I've got no indices missing, so that's the order I'm going to keep it in, so I don't need to add any zeros in. I'll then do the synthetic division, so I've got 2 there, multiply the 2 and the 2 gives me a 4, gather them gives me 1, multiply by 2, gather them gives me minus 1, and multiply by 2 gives me minus 2, and what I would expect to get out there is 0, and that equals the remainder. Okay, so since the remainder is equal to 0, okay, what I've got is I've got x minus 2 as a factor, and I'll just say that x equals 2 is a root. Okay, so I've got that. Okay. Right, so that's part 1 complete. Let's look at part 2 and hence factorise fully. Okay, so let's go for that part. Part 2. Right, so what we've got here is, I'll just write out the full function, first of all. I've got 2x cubed minus 3x squared minus 3x plus 2, and I know that that there is going to be equal to the first factor I've got is the one that I was told about in part 1, so that's going to be x minus 2, that's one factor. The other part that I'm going to take is from here, which is the quotient, this bit here, and that bit is going to be appearing in this bracket here. So started off with x cubed, so this one here will be a 2x squared. I've got that one there as a plus x, and that will be minus 1. So that's the quotient just brought down to there. I'll then factorise it fully. So I've got this factorised here, already given, and factorising out the trinomial, putting it into two brackets. What I've got is I've got a 2x and an x, they'll multiply together to get the 2x squared. Numbers that multiply together to get 1, 1 and 1. And looking at the signs, so if that's a negative sign there, 1's a negative, 1's a positive. If that's a positive, then the highest one that multiplies out is going to be positive. So the 2x times the 1 there, that's going to be positive there. And this one's here going to be negative. And I can just work it out by FOIL to make sure I get back there. So that's it, factorised out fully. I'll then move on to part B. Part B is solve 2x cubed plus 1 in the bracket equals 3x bracket x plus 1. So now when I see something like that following a question like this here, then what I'd like to think is going to happen is when I multiply this out and gather it to the one side, I'm going to be getting this here, and I've already done some of the work to factorise it, and then from factorising I'm going to just solve it. So that's what I'm going to look at. So I'm going to write this down first and multiply out all the brackets and see how I get on from there. Right, so let's just multiply the bracket out first of all. So that's going to be 2x cubed plus 2 is equal to 3x squared, and that there's going to give me plus 3x at that side. Gather everything over to the left hand side, so I've got 2x cubed here. I've got minus 3x squared, I've got minus 3x, and I've got plus 2, and that equals 0. Okay, and that's important with the 0 there. So if I look at that now there, and I look at the original question I had in part A, well they match up, so that's the same function. Okay, so I'm now going to solve that. Okay, it's only a 2-mark question, so some of the work from here I'm going to take down below. So I've already factorised it out here, so what I'll do is I'll just write down the factors. Equals 0. Remember that there is just from, and it was A, part 1 above. Okay, that's where I got that from. Or part 2 above, isn't it? Part 2. And then I'm just going to solve it. So what I'd say then is that x minus 2 equals 0. Okay, so here I've got x equals 2. I've got 2x minus 1 equals 0. So 2x will equal 1. So x will equal a half. And then finally there I've got x plus 1 equals 0. So x equals minus 1. Okay, and they're my solutions. So that's my solution. So solutions are x equals 2, x equals a half, or minus 1. Okay, and that's the question complete. So let's see where the marks are going to be given here. I'll give 1 mark here first of all for setting up the synthetic division here with the 2 on the outside. The next mark is going to be given for processing it to 0 and also making a statement regarding the x minus 2 being a factor. Okay, and equals the remainder must be in there as well for that mark. Taking down the quotient from there, I'll give 1 mark for there for putting it into the bracket, and another mark there for working out all the factors. The 5th mark we'll give for rearranging this in this form here. Okay, I've already got a mark for that up there, and from there what we'll go for is the roots. Once we get the solutions, that'll be my final mark. Okay, so this question here, out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6 marks.